My Father's Three Jokes, number 2. Who's the king of the jungle? When Dad told who's the king of the jungle, he would naturally enough begin the tale by introducing Leo, our great prideful lion, a lion whom we find stewing in discontent amidst the tall grass of the Serengeti. Being a king, Leo had grown used to being treated with great respect, but following a thorough castigation and beratement of his flagging ability to carry out his king of the jungle duties by not only his alpha wife, Nefertiti, but lesser wives Makita and Kandeka as well, Leo had temporarily turned his back on his pride and was figuratively licking his wounds. Following the discontented mewing of his mates, Leo had announced that he needed some alone time and set off from his pride in search of a balm to his sprained ego. Leo, having traveling far, spied what appeared to be the perfect tree to sit beneath and stew until he felt enough time had lapsed for his wayward harem to realize just how good they had it. Laying beneath our shade tree, Leo was still in the ruminating and cogitating stage concerning the unappreciative nature of his pride mates, and after delivering a king-size exhale, he grumbled to himself, "Who's the king of the jungle around here anyway?" concurrent to a rustling amongst the tall grass. Though sunk as he was in self-pity and discontent, Leo knew precisely what was needed to solve and save his prick pride, a pride that should be praised and honored, not diminished and wounded by complaining, thankless, and fault-finding females who had dared to wound him by pointing out his supposedly diminishing capacities. In the wink of an eye, Leo's massive paw slammed down upon the tail of a mouse, and lifting the poor creature by her tail, he brought it directly in front of his face and roared, "Who's the king of the jungle?" The mouse, literally in fear for her life, immediately squeaked, "You're the king of the jungle." "That's right, and don't you forget it," he roared, bringing the mouse so close to his face that her tiny eyes stared directly into his before lowering her to his mouth, opening his massive jaw to its greatest capacity, roaring again, then flinging the poor frightened thing into the grass semi-unmolested. Following this murine acclamation, Leo found himself feeling somewhat better, and decided the best solve for his wounded pride would be further accolades heaped upon him, and so he set off in search of those who understood the undeniability of his superiority. Stealthily, Leo stalked the savannah, and approaching a watering hole he spied, snuck up on, and cornering a capybara, again pounced, caught, and lifted the nearly frightened to death rodent to his open maw and roared, "Who's the king of the jungle?" Shaking like a leaf in a thunderstorm, the poor capybara, likewise frightened as the poor mouse had been, managed to tutter, "You're the king of the jungle!" A response that elicited Leo's roared reply, "That's right, and don't you forget it," as he flung the poor thing into the watering hole to sink or swim as it may. Leo, feeling decidedly better, but not yet good, continued his stealthy stalking and came upon an unsuspecting meerkat, a lemur, chimpanzee, macaw, donkey, ostrich, llama, gazelle, impala, and zebra, all of whom he cornered and, lifting the smaller animals to his face while merely surprising, cornering, and frightening nearly to death, the larger roared, "Who's the king of the jungle?" A roar that grew louder and more ferocious as our king's confidence was restored as each cornered subject dutifully and quakingly replied, "You're the king of the jungle!" Leo, though mollified, still felt a need for further acclamation, and so, spying an elephant, he again rushed to the behemoth and roared, "Who's the king of the jungle?" A roar that did not produce the same result on his 12th repetition as it had for the previous 11. Rather, upon being confronted by Leo, the elephant reached out with his trunk, grasped Leo by the waist, lifted him into the air, and bashed him from side to side on the ground before releasing him. Leo, battered and stunned, managed to utter, "Yeesh, you didn't have to get so angry just because you didn't know the answer," before falling into unconsciousness.